we made our go-to-market, we executed go-to-market, and in 3 weeks, we could sell absolutely zero.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Aha Moments podcast with me, Kobi Omenaka. My guest this week is Spyros Tsoukalas.
Your thoughts on the product are useless when compared to your users' thoughts on your product.
Spiros is a champion in making minimum viable products, MVPs, and he started from an amazingly detailed level in computer science and computer engineering, software engineering.
But there was no AI or automation in the first version of the product because we could do it by hand.
So it's interesting to hear Spiros talking about why he championed and got really behind the no-code and low-code movement as it's happening now, and pivoted away from writing code and products and building products from scratch.
We might be able to go from version 5 to version 6 from something between 3 and 10 days.
We're talking this episode, as we have done for a few days, about AI and why we shouldn't necessarily fear it and we should embrace it. But also, it was good just to connect with Spiros. This is the first time I've ever met him, and he's a really nice guy. Thank you so much for joining me on Aha Moments podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. I'm looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoy doing these, and so some of these podcast episodes are recorded are people who I've never met before, like yourself.
Yes.
And some of them are old friends. So both are great for me to catch up with people, but also meet people for the first time. So
I love the onboarding till now.
It's been easy. Yeah. Well, good. So as a point of reference, we met through GrowthMentor, which is where more experienced people have small, conversations with startup founders to help them unblock, hopefully, the next challenge in their kind of pipeline, the next challenge that's limiting their growth for their company. Yeah, how are you enjoying the GrowthMentor platform yourself?
I love it. I have a very special story with GrowthMentor.
Oh, what's that?
I learned about the platform when I was participating in a startup competition around 2020, so 5 years ago almost. And the second prize was a GrowthMentor subscription back then. So we aimed for the second prize, we got it, and that's how I was onboarded in the GrowthMentor community a few weeks afterwards. I loved it. I used the service a lot in my first 2 years. I think I had more than 100 calls as a mentee, met amazing people, met the founders of GrowthMentor, and then joined the GrowthMentor as a full-time member and a representative of their community in a way. I was hired as their persona as well. So I stayed with GrowthMentor for, I think, 1.5 years. I also became a mentor in the meantime. And after I left the company, I stayed in the community as a mentor in the area of making MVPs and no-code, low-code, and stuff like that. Going to market, I have failed multiple times. But yeah, GrowthMentor is the best community I have been a part of in the last 5 years. And it's, my favorite digital space for meeting people and learning.
So I don't think I've met anyone who's been a mentee and then gone to be a mentor. So what was it like from your side? I'm going to ask on both sides then. So what was it like as a mentee in the first place?
As a mentee, it's an amazing place where you can meet people who, in my own words, kind of have been there, done that, and then they can share their experience with you. And if your ego is low enough, you can learn from them and accelerate your progress. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. So, I'm new in SEO and I want to hop in. I find tons of mentors on the topic and they can help me, start my steps. Because the opposite would be for me to, learning by myself everything, which doesn't make sense. So that's a very nice, that's the best thing within the community. As a mentor, so I don't think that mentees and mentors are that different in some areas. And what do I mean? I mean that in order for you to be a mentor on a topic, you just have to be a few steps ahead of the other person on the specific thing. We are not experts in everything. I know a lot of things about no code and low code, so I can be mentoring or teaching people or talking to people about this. So that's why they book calls with me. But I'm, no expert in most of the topics, and I hop in calls and talk with others who are more experienced than me in that. And it could be, in GrowthMentor, it's about growth, startup, etc. But if someone is a more experienced cook than myself, then they can be my mentor in my first recipe implementation, kind of. So the community is dynamic, and I learn a lot of stuff about no code. So that's how I ended up being a mentee and a mentor at the same time.
I love the way you said you're cooking implementation. That's very much in the startup, getting stuff done headspace.
Yeah.
So I love the way you said, if your ego isn't large enough. So explain why that's an important part of the process, for not just for here, but for companies that you work with when you're helping them with their MVP.
Yeah. So I would start from the ego that the founder has. So when talking about startups, so the founding team, they have some hypothesis and they get excited about an idea. A real difference here, in my experience, is the difference between a maker and an entrepreneur. A maker loves building stuff, and they are very enthusiastic about their ideas, their dreams, the thing they are creating. So they enjoy the building process of what they are building. But makers who are not entrepreneurs do not have this denominator in their equation that this is somehow useful, impactful, making money for some reason for someone. There's no this denominator that makes this valuable from some perspective. Could be money, could be impact, could be user value. So I was a maker myself in my early startup years, and I remember how passionate I was about the ideas I was having and how strong opinion I was back then. And talking about things that I didn't know, but thinking I'm correct because my ego was high enough to do that. When you enter a discussion with a mentor or with a fellow that maybe knows a little more stuff on some direction or is more experienced, which is helpful as well, sometimes you don't want to hear a different point of view, and you have the need to be confirmed. So if I could distinguish this into categories, there are sessions or thoughts where you have to just psychologically empower the other person. So your opinion doesn't really matter. You just have to empower them. And there are other learners, mentees, or chats where they are actually looking to learn. So this means that they are open to receiving feedback. And this means that their ego or their mindset should be in that situation where if you tell them what you say is bullshit, not with these words, but in a more polite way, they will accept that and try to understand it. And my favorite conversations are when people join a meeting not to confirm their opinion because that's what they are looking for, but on their way to confirm their opinion, they are open to learn from your experience, listen to it if you are relevant, and they have to think if they want to throw it or it makes sense.
Yeah.
If your ego is high enough, you are always throwing stuff away because you just want to be. I think it's called validation bias or something like that. So yeah, that's why I'm saying ego needs to be down. Also, a very usual case with startups is you start with a hypothesis about especially first-time founders. They are working with industries that they don't really know. So they start something. They think they are correct, and then they mess up. And they messed up because I think that many mentors have been telling them, go and chat with your client, get out of the building and chat with your customer and develop the customer value they are asking for. And because your ego is messing your head up, you don't do it. For various reasons, but you don't do it.
So a lot of people have said when I've spoken to this is go and speak to your customer. Are you saying they shouldn't speak to the customer, or are you saying think about it differently?
I'm saying do not avoid speaking to your customers for all the reasons that you might be avoiding to, but it's
Sorry.
In most cases, it's the single source of truth for you to build a better startup. Your thoughts on the product are useless when compared to your users' thoughts on your product.
Sorry, that's just confirming we're on the same page and on the same page.
I'm not generalizing.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm not overgeneralizing. I'm using it as a mindset. An experienced founder on a product or an industry might be able to, have very valid hypothesis and not needing any external feedback. But these people are special.
Everyone that I've spoken to for this has said the key thing: speak to your customers, and it's still interesting how few people do so. And how much of a roadblock it seems to be. And going back to what you said about removing that ego, because it's not the product. Okay, you have the idea for the product, but you're not the one that's buying the product. As the founder, you're not the one that's buying the product, so it's irrelevant. So you need to find the people that are going to buy your product or your service, and make sure that they actually want it. Right? That seems it's 101. And if you're not doing that, then you haven't got a business. And if you're not understanding what they want, then you're making and wasting time, spending money, spending resources.
Exactly.
Doing something that likely won't work. It might work somewhere else, but based on what your hypothesis is, it's not going to work.
And I like introducing the term maker here, as I said earlier, because
yeah, I like
people
that. I like that.
who do that process enjoy the making process. They are makers.
Yeah.
I was one. To be honest, I was one.
So talk me about the maker side of things. You have an idea, I guess, and you think, I need to do this.
Yeah. So, when I was younger, I had that calling that I want to quit from being an employee kind of and get freedom. So I thought I had the potential or the capability to, gain freedom by building something that's producing money and allows me to make a living out of it. And, we mess up what the business is and what startups are, because startups are still businesses, only with a more innovative, scalable, disrupting potential kind of in wherever they are built. So many people get in the startup industry thinking that their ideas will lead them to, the next Facebook, the next unicorn or whatever. In my country, we hardly have unicorns in Greece. So we have, I think, 1, 2, 3 these days. So, there are all these people that join the startup industry, but they really want to build a business and make money out of it. So huge difference. Yeah. And when it comes to makers, I was one myself. For 3 or 4 years, I was just creating meaningless, useless products that nobody wanted because I hadn't yet realized how important it is to involve the customer. And then when you realize that, you have to learn how to involve them and how to use this interaction. So at some point, that's the biggest fail or fuck up that we had. We look at our strategy. We had learned that failed already a few times, and then we had an idea of building a platform for tours and tourists, and we took a competitor, creatively copied it, improved it. But we thought, they have raised a ton of money, so they should know what they're doing. They should be having revenue. So we creatively copied another platform, improved it, added features, etc. And we made our go-to-market. We executed go-to-market, and in 3 weeks we could sell absolutely zero.
Wow.
Zero. So then I realized, they didn't know what they were doing as well. We switched our business model, again zero. Anyway, we made a lot of pivots, and that's where no code was very helpful, because we could pivot very, very, very quickly, over the weekend, for example. So yeah, I mean, it's there where I learned that, feedback from customers, the industry experience makes something solid. In the latest pivot that we made back then, I didn't like the business model and the execution anymore. So I didn't want to work on it because I didn't love the problem initially. It was an opportunistic business idea that we followed as a team. So eventually we dropped it because, we didn't want to work on it anymore.
I mean, that's reason enough not to want to work in it, because when you're building something up, if there's no why that's almost ingrained into yourself as a founder, as the builder, then it's a tough road to take. Because these are long days, these are multiple days in a week. You're working 7 days a week, and you don't have rest on holidays. You don't get as much time with your family. So if it's for something that you don't really believe in, then hey, that's almost why stick with it. Because as you said, you fail many times. You're very lucky if you don't fail. Most people do fail, and there has to be some upside to that failure, and that at least you've tried to build something that you wanted to build from the bottom of your heart.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
So there's a couple of things you said which I thought were great, and I'd just love to pick up on. One is the main thing is when you said you looked at a competitor and you copied them. I've heard similar stories where they've looked at a successful competitor and thought, okay, we're just going to use what they do and use that as the start. But because they hadn't done that validation, they hadn't actually understood the audience, they failed to understand what the competitor was doing. They just kind of gone, okay, I see what they got there, I'm going to copy it because that's a good starting point, and I think we'll make it better. But then it still failed because they haven't done the baseline. They still haven't done that baseline research of understanding what the audience wants. Is that something you've experienced, or is that kind of practice makes sense to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe that you have to test your value all the time with your customers, with stakeholders. That competitor I was talking about, they might have found something or done something that we couldn't realize.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of try and error. And being a startup founder, I think, you should, in order to improve, you should keep doing that. It's your product is not. It's a living organism. It's something that over the time it evolves, because many people think, okay, I build it and they will come, or I build it and that's it, that's final. I mean, if you are active and you want to grow in your startup, etc., it's a living organism that you keep learning. It will never be perfect.
Yeah.
It's like a human person that it's constantly learning and interacting and changing. So that's how I would approach that.
Can you talk me through about some of how you came to the no-code side of things for building the MVP, and how minimal should the MVP be?
Yeah. So how I learned about no code is a very, very funny story, given that where I am right now. So I will take it chronologically. I graduated from a computer engineering school with high honors. So I was a good student.
So does this mean this already means that when you're thinking of building something, you're already thinking with the highest level and time and effort and well thought out.
Exactly.
That's where your head's at when you're
career-wise also. Career-wise. So I started working in private companies, and I had this permanent feeling and disappointment that I couldn't build software, although I was a computer engineer graduate. I was good with computers, I was good with theory, I was good with algorithms and all these concepts, but I was not good at all at building software. I could code, but not do software development. And then I bumped onto the low-code space. And this was, an aha moment for myself, because I realized that I could use all these tools at a product level now and start building with components here and there, from websites to products to web apps to mobile applications. So I fell in love with the field. I started teaching it to my teammates, and I started, this era in my career where we built almost everything with low code, at least at their early steps. And what is no code and low code? It's
I was going to ask you to clarify.
To build software development, to do software development without being a tech person. Or it's an easy way for technical persons to do the first steps of some platforms or some implementations. And why is it helpful? Because it completely changes the amount of resources, either it's time, people, know-how, money, whatever you define as resources, you need to go from 0 to 1 or to 2 as a startup or as a product when you develop it. So you can actually do things quicker, test them quicker, be more agile, experiment, and develop overall quicker in a matter of weeks. And it helps both technical people accelerate their software development process, or non-technical people join the tech world somehow.
Yeah.
And I have been teaching, educating people about no-code, mentoring people using no-code myself. I think I have educated, personally, more than 60 young people who joined the low-code world because they started a training with me.
Nice.
Anyway, I fell so in love with the space that I started a PhD on the impact of low-code and no-code in the software development, in the development of early-stage software.
Wow.
So I'm so invested in this domain. Yeah, but I see a lot of benefits here and there. And with the era of AI, this is even better.
Yeah.
So I'm by no means saying that developers or technical people are not useful, but this domain started growing heavily for some reason, and it's the democratization of access to technical creation, kind of. So there are a lot of different use cases around all types of software development that low-code tools can help you accelerate this and use less resources to meet your expectations, goals, achieve what you want to do, build your startup, build your internal product, build whatever you want.
But so this low-code, it's an evolution of something that's been happening from my understanding of the history of computer programming or just humanity in general. Because with, you started with like baseline code, which is very, very difficult for people to understand. And then you had the more kind of built into more that kind of natural language languages such as Ruby and Python, so it's easier for people to grasp. And then maybe at the same time as before, there's like the modularity, so you could just pull in a module to do a bit of functionality that you didn't have to program it yourself. And then like with Ruby, you had the Rails platform, so as a framework, so that you can pull these things in like naturally. And then, so stop me if I'm wrong at any of these stages. And then you had like this is where then no code made it really easy for using things like Zapier or Make.com or N8N, N8N, etc. And please tell me if there's any platforms that you really like there.
Oh yeah, I know them. I use them.
And that helps you put together things really quickly that you would have taken a lot of time to do. And then now the AI level on top of that helps bridge a lot of gaps there and helps to rationalize a lot of things more easily. Does that seem fair? Is there anything that's worth pulling out from that I may have missed?
Yeah. Given the story you said, I would only add that, when I pitch or talk about no code, I say that WordPress is the grandfather of the tools nowadays. Yeah, and also a big distinguishment that many people might not get is that, okay, they will say, okay, you use a tool to do specific stuff, it adds limits, and you are limited, so you can't really do things. And that's where low code is introduced. By low code, we are talking about no-code tools that have an extra very important component, which is adding code here and there through GitHub, through small boxes, through whatever the way it is, that allows you to customize what you want to do. So, for example, Flutterflow allows you to do custom Flutter coding within Flutterflow, and you can customize fully things, connect them to GitHub, and do whatever you want from there. So it's the best of two worlds, kind of, if you find the right balance. So this, expands what things can be done. Or tools like Zapier and Make, etc., they allow you to, in a modular way, as you explained, plug all the other services that exist out there, or a lot. And this gives you, especially when we are talking about startups, an amazing modularity and flexibility to validate what you want to validate quickly and efficiently in terms of resources.
I've spoken with people recently who they've got ideas for things and then gone out to potential CTOs or potential companies to help build them. And these companies often say, yeah, we'll build it from scratch. We'll build the app from scratch. We'll do this from scratch. And I'm like, well, hold on. There must be a way to test this one feature that you feel is the main bit. And I can't remember which platforms I was looking at the time, which made sense for it. But it might have been Flutter. There's a few of these other platforms which work. But I'm really interested in speaking to you now because I really feel that at the core, the thing you want to test with that MVP or the first version of your product should ideally nowadays be able to be tested quite quickly and validated quite quickly before you then build out. And if then you need to build what you think is a more robust coding platform around it, then okay, do that, but not before it's validated, not before you spent those resources.
You're absolutely right. You asked me earlier and didn't answer that. How minimal should the MVP be? Yeah. And my mindset around that, being an MVP builder, is that there are multiple steps of validation that you could follow even before you start building, even with no code. Example, you want to test a value of something. You can make a page, run ads on it, and test the messaging or test the click rate. This is something that Foti has documented in a Foti from GrowthMentor has documented in a very detailed article on our blog, and it's an amazing idea. Also, I have done it in the past. We wanted to test a privacy policy generator service. So instead of building anything, the first step is you start talking with startups and offering it to them.
Yeah.
Let them get it. And then you go to your competitors and you pretend you have a solution for that. You pretend you have a solution or you want something from them, and then you can actually get data. You don't have to ask how much would a privacy policy cost. You can go and I want to build this privacy policy. How much does it cost? Or, pretend you are in the role, I'm trying to say, of selling or buying in this case. And then the next step after a few phone calls with competitors and with potential clients, what we did is we built a Google form. And we started testing the privacy policy generator as a Google form. Yeah. And then when we've actually built something, we were saying that it's automatic, but it was semi-automatic. So people were inserting their data,
Yep.
and we were telling them, hey, a lawyer will review it and we will come back to you. What the reality was is that the template was built from a lawyer, actually our lawyers,
Yeah.
fully templatized, and we were taking their answers and putting them in the correct order, etc., to finalize the document with our lawyer, overview. But there was no AI or automation in the first version of the product, because we could do it by hand, and we just built some front-end interfaces to interact with our customers. I mean, it can be really, really, really minimum in order to test the value. And then we realized the value was not there, so we dropped the project. So
Perfect.
perfect, actually. Perfect, yes, because we didn't lose more time and resources on that.
Yeah. I call that concierging. You maybe did a few more steps than when I've seen with concierging, but you accept details via form or by phone call, and there's some kind of smoke and mirror or black box that people don't understand, and whether that black box is what they think is code or some kind of product, at the end is the product, but they don't know how it's made. So in the first few versions, hey, it might be very manual. It might be actually each time it might be a lawyer writing up the privacy policy from scratch. Next version is a template for that. Next version is, an AI augmented version, and then the final version, if it works, if it has been validated, if there is a requirement and revenue for it, then that's when the product's built and you ship it out and you'll be able to scale it up a lot more quickly. But I think what's important for people to realize is that they don't need, at the start, they don't have that many customers that they can't do the things that don't scale at the start.
Yeah, exactly. One idea that I recently like a lot, it's, let's say you want to work in a specific domain and provide a specific service. Pretend, if it's possible, especially at B2B level, pretend you're offering it and offer it as a consultant.
Yeah.
Go and offer it. You have a product, you're building your product, but you can offer it as a consultant because of the human interaction involved and the learnings you will get from actually working with those people. And if you are helping, for example, if you're building a customer feedback collection platform, work with them with their customer feedback collection processes, or everything around that, and then you will build an ideal product because you worked with the actual real thing.
Yeah.
So you can pretend you are having a service while you are the service, and learn from that.
Love it. What, just so people, I guess, if they can understand the kind of next steps or where to do some research, what are the kind of no-code platforms that you'd recommend? And then I've got another question before we go to the aha moment questions.
So there are a lot of low-code tools and no-code tools out there.
Yeah.
I will highlight the few that my team and myself are using. So I will stay in software development because if we expand from where Zapier and other such tools go, we will end up with marketing tools, etc. But I will stay at the core. Amazing tools to try. I love Card for simple website building, Bubble, Flutterflow for web apps, GlideApps for web apps as well. I love it. I have a story for it afterwards. Frontly, I like it. Power Apps, it's a Microsoft platform. Pretty specific use cases within the Microsoft ecosystem, also very good. And then Zapier, LateNode, Make.com, formerly Integromat. And I might be missing a few here and there, but these are tools.
It's a good place to.
I have
it was
in my
It was Bubble. Bubble was the platform I was thinking of. I suggested to someone to help build a app, web app or mobile app. I can't remember what it was. I'd read a lot about it and seen some really interesting outputs from it, and I thought it's good to see you validate Bubble as an option.
If we put Zapier out of the equation, because Zapier is an integrator for many things, but it's also a dominant tool within the no-code space, but it's not exclusively a no-code tool. I would say that Bubble, for some years, maybe still to today, was the most popular tool in the no-code space when it comes to startups, etc.
What was that? Sorry.
Bubble is the
most popular.
I think it was the most popular one for some years, if not still, for startup and MVP building, etc.
With one fear that I see people have at the moment, and it seems like you've just been what you said in passing, that you realize why this might be the case, especially now with AI. People are seeing idiots like me designing stuff on using Sora, images using Sora, and writing code which they had no capacity to do so 2 days beforehand and be able to implement it. But you don't seem to be what you seem to encourage that in a way. Are you? What are your thoughts on that? Are you fearful of the future for people's jobs, or are you trying to embrace the opportunities that this brings to humanity, I guess?
So I have faced this question a few times recently, and I would only say that what we do in the no-code space evolves with AI.
Yeah.
AI makes us write code when we're needed or helps us write code. It's still not, completely autonomous. It's mostly a copilot in most use cases. And I think that all these tools that come in the no-code space with AI, they will help envision prototypes more. For now, I think that people who are not technical cannot really publish completed products because the problem is the technical debt you get out of not knowing how to maintain and handle that eventually.
Yeah.
So right now, I think that a very good use case for all these vibe coding tools that end up in visual representations like Replit, or what's the other name? Oh, I forgot it. Kobi, not love letter. No. Anyway, like Replit.
Lovable.
Anyway, lovable. Yes. They give you a great way to prototype quickly and then go to your designer or your engineering team, no code or custom engineering, and play with it. But they let you envision even more how this would look, make it interactive, etc.
Yeah.
And I expect Figma, Canva, and all these tools to start stepping in these setups.
Yeah, absolutely. So this podcast is called Aha Moments, and I've got 3 questions for you. The first question, so these are the questions I ask every single guest. The first question is, can you think of a product or service that or company you've worked with, and you found an aha moment for your clients? And how did you find out aha moments for your clients, and how did you get your clients to that point as soon as possible?
So in my line of work, it's not that easy to do it because we are building MVP, so it might take some time until the client feels safe and is happy with the outcome. Yeah. So I have a very specific use case, very recent. So because in my line of work, there is these 2 cases. People who are already educated about low code or no code, and people who are not. Or people who easily grasp the value of what no code and low code is, and people who do not. So I met a team. I educated them on how this works and what are the benefits, and they started working with me on an MVP. My tool of choice was GlideApps, my favorite no code tool. I love it. You can do amazing stuff with GlideApps. And we started building. And the team kept changing the product requirements and flows, etc. And we were able to follow that very quickly and efficiently. So we are on version 6, if I can call them versions somehow, and we might be able to go from version 5 to version 6 from something between 3 and 10 days of our pace of work.
Yeah.
So at some point, they restructured the whole product, and they came back to me in a meeting and told me, hey, thank God we are using Glide for this, because they were getting the value out of the customers along the way, and we could follow up with the changes and the restructures here and there. And if this was done with custom development, it would be amazing. It would have a lot of advantages, but it would have a very, very big disadvantage, time and delivery, when it comes to rapid prototyping and changes.
That's it.
And so, reflecting on the cost as well.
The key thing you said there was they're doing it in line with the customers, and they're learning with the customers, so they're able to, because at first when you said that, I thought you were saying that they were changing the flows just because they were like, I can't be bothered anymore, let's have a different direction. But this was based on live feedback from their ICP.
And imagine the following. We are offering a B2B service, kind of.
Yeah.
And in their beta customers, we customize the service per customer by duplicating the flows and adjusting them to their needs. Yeah. So basically, we are testing in different product flows, A/B testing, whatever we call it, and we are testing different values with different customers because we can so easily build up everything, package it, and ship it.
Yeah.
So this aha moment is my favorite one from recently.
Love it. So the second question is aha moment in a product or service that you love whatever that may be. Might be work related, might be home person related.
Yeah. So I have 3 quick aha moments with products or things that are personal.
Sure.
First one, the story I said earlier, I fell in love with no code when I realized how this addresses my personal problem of not being capable of building software and envision my startups practically. That was one. Secondly, GrowthMentor, also discussed earlier, is an amazing story in my life because I joined the community. I met so many amazing people. I was at the top of the leaderboard of mentees for some time with the most calls as a mentee. I met amazing mentors, learned a ton, joined GrowthMentor. I mean, loved it. Loved the whole journey thanks to Jessica and Foti. And third one, the way I was hooked with Notion when I started using it. I mean, I can literally say I live in Notion. So, and what I loved is how custom everything could be in my terms of customization and my expectations. So I ended up living in Notion. If you take away Notion, I'm a little blind in my everyday work life.
I think that I love that. Let's stick on Notion for a bit longer because it is now. So for me, it almost makes my heart sink when someone sends me a link and it's a Notion link, because that can mean absolutely anything. You don't know what you're going to get when you visit that link, and but you know that the person who sent it is like, this is their baby almost. They can. This is almost their dashboard, their engine for a lot of things, and that I think is fantastic in the way that it can almost go in infinite ways, but also I think it's kind of terrifying for me. I like seeing, like, someone sends me a Google spreadsheet link, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to see here. I know that it's going to be rows, I'm going to be there, there'll be some code, there'll be some formula somewhere, and that's great. But Notion could be anything. You could pull in values from anywhere, which I don't know is coming from. But for you, that's amazing, right? So what were you using before Notion? How did you find Notion in the first place?
So I think I'm a startup myself on that, because I started from my mind, then pen and paper, then agendas, then digitized, then started having notes, pure notes, then moved to Google Docs and Google Sheets, and then eventually Notion became, the absolute solution for this.
I use Airtable quite a lot for something maybe a bit more structured than than Notion, but I'm amazed at the automations and the ways I can make it sing. Maybe I should have spent a bit more time in Notion. Have a go with it.
I mean, they are a multi-billion company now. They do everything. So yeah. They are good with AI, good with emails, good with calendars. They have integrated everything.
So the final aha question is: you think of a personal aha moment or life hack that you'd like to share with people?
I will share a life hack, like a mindset that I particularly love, and that I have it has evolved along my life, and it's the importance of wanting when it comes to how we prioritize our life, our work, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of noise in our lives. And a lot of things that we casually want. But we need to reflect back inside us, in our dreams, whatever we want to achieve, etc., and see what we really want to do. Clarify that. It might change, but we need to be very, very, very clear with that, with ourselves. And then prioritize our wants, and then prioritize the time we allocate on our wants. Because there are many people who want to become, build billion-dollar companies, but they don't understand the struggle you have to go through to build a billion-dollar company, or even start a business. Many people want to start a business to be free, and 3 days in, they want to, leave it because they didn't want it eventually on the first place. So essentially, in the first place. So, I mean, I value how much clarity it brings in life when you clarify the wants or the priorities of your wanting, this will reflect your actions, how much you enjoy what you do, and all this stuff. I'm not sure how it sounds in English. In Greek, it sounds a lot better, but yeah.
I think it's a lot of it is that, I think what I said before is that find your why. Is that why, understand fully why you want to do the thing, because you're totally right in that if you are, people like the outcome. They see people who have their lifestyle businesses who they can spend all the time with their kids, but they have money coming in all the time. They're not tied to the 9 to 5, which they see to be the cage that people are often in, which is, depending on who you are, is a good or a bad thing. And then people then pivot to a new type of company, start things themselves, but don't realize that it takes a while typically to get to the stage where these people are. They just see the end result, but they haven't seen the struggle and the building and along the way.
If I may enrich this, it's multiple whys for different things, because you might want to travel the world, to build a company, to do something else. It's multiple whys all at the same time, prioritizing them, how important they are, and putting this all together. In my case, I don't build my company or startups for the money. And the reason is, if somebody comes and gives me a big amount, very decent amount, big, for work, if it's not, like bribing me to get out of what I do, I will not say yes. I have said no to a few good opportunities. And the reason is, I want freedom. I want to build my own freedom. This is my why. I want to reach a point with financial, maybe geographical, or any type of freedom that I define as freedom for myself. But, the first reason is not necessarily money, which gives you some type of freedom, because it at the same time, it limits you.
I think it goes back to yourself as a maker, because I haven't heard that phraseology like this before, but I think that helps to define me quite a lot, because I have a lot of ideas, and a lot of it I want to just make them real, but I don't necessarily need the money for. I'm just like, I hope this works. I hope this can benefit someone, and I'm not really thinking about the use case for it. Ultimately, which as a founder, I'd be terrible. But for someone who can make things and come up with ideas and make them work, and bring them to life, is great. As a business, maybe not so great.
Yeah, so you gave me a great pass to share very few words about the vision I have for my current activities.
Yeah.
So what we envision doing as a team is evolving into, let's say, no-code, low-code agency, but we want to be social first, kind of. And what I mean is, the social industry and technology and non-profit social businesses, etc., they have great potential to do impact, but they lack the resources even more than normal companies or startups.
Yeah.
And they lack technology know-how even more.
Yeah.
So we want to be active in this space, help early stage entrepreneurs that have no resources, non-profits, social businesses evolve and use the resourceful technology and low-code as a trend to build their dreams and meet their goals and achieve what they want to achieve. So I envision us evolving into a social first agency that might come up with some products as well and productize a few good things here and there.
And I have a similar thing actually with the podcast company we're trying to build. People come to me all the time saying, hey, I've got a great idea for a podcast. It's XYZ. And a lot of these I'm like, this sounds really great. I'd love to hear it. But also I don't have the money to give you. I don't have the resources to give you, the time to give you to make it so. So a lot of what I'm trying to build now is a company that's sustainable, that has revenue being generated from other podcast activities, tent polling, then other activities, other stories that can be built over there, which I'm like, I'd really love to hear these ones, but if you make this podcast, you're not going to make any money from it, but I'd love to hear it. And I know a lot of people who would, if they heard their stories or what you make, would be really impacted by, and I think that's an important thing to be able to give to people. But without the bit over there, the funding, I can't do that bit over there.
I love that. We might find ways to help each other out, because we do exactly the same right now. We are experimenting into low code with that.
Yeah. So
we have our usual clients and portfolio, and then we take some of our resources and either give them for free to non-profits or at heavily discounted terms so that they can build an impactful product or service or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what we do. We take a chunk of our resources and repurpose it to repurpose them to social.
Perfect. Spiros, are you happy for people to contact you via either your website or via LinkedIn?
Yes.
Or,
Yes. My company is called Technology Without Borders. So maybe on the website, LinkedIn, with my name. Or
so similar to
Medicine,
similar to Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières. That's the, this is the social side you're building into it right from the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn GrowthMentor as a mentor, and happy to meet people.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Guys, if you want to get in contact with Spiros, the details to get in contact with it will be in the show notes or the comments on YouTube. Thank you so much, Spiros. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you, Kobi. Likewise.
Thank you very much, Spiros, and thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this episode of Aha Moments Podcast. Woo! I don't know why I did the woo. But yes, if you want to get in contact with Spiros, go into the show notes. The link to his LinkedIn is there. The link to his website is there. And also, he said he's really happy to speak to you. So just send him a message, say hello. Don't be rude. Don't be a dick. Whilst you're here and not being a dick, please do write a review, write a comment below. I'll answer them as much as I can do. Please do then share with your friends, share with one friend, share with one colleague, share with one family member, because that really helps to get this podcast out there, get this video out there if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah, that's it for now. So I will see you in the next episode. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode, and have a great time between now and then.